3 months ago, I could barely even say bon dia in Portuguese, and I never would have done something like this. But then again, 3 months ago, I was a totally different person. Little old version of me boarding a plane, ready to come here and move to Portugal, had literally no idea what she was getting herself in for. So how did this journey happen? I moved to Portugal at the beginning of September from the UK, and about 3 days after I arrived here, I saw a Facebook advert for a singing group. So I thought, why not try it? I love to sing. So I thought I'd go along and see what it was like. And when I arrived, I actually sat next to an American lady, and she was like, oh, later today I'm going to be going to a Portuguese choir. It's at 8 till 11 p.m. It's in Setúbal. Would you like to come? And I thought, My initial response was like pure anxiety. I had so many thoughts. I was like, how am I going to understand anything? I've just moved here. I don't speak the language. It's 8 till 11 and like my bedtime is 9:30. So that's really late and I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that. And I was really shocked actually at just watching how quickly I was judging how I would like that experience, whether I would want to do it or not, even though I love singing and I've always wanted to join a choir. And so because I was entering Portugal with this kind of saying yes mindset, I was able to ignore those things and I decided to say yes. Later that evening, I found my way to the location and it was pretty chaotic. Like I had no idea what was going on. I couldn't understand anything. The lady, even though she was American, who invited me to the choir, she speaks fluent Portuguese. So she was kind of helping me understand. And then someone translated to me at the end of the rehearsal, like 2 hours later, that we were actually rehearsing to perform in a theatre production. And I thought, okay, it's a little bit more than I'd bargained for, but I guess that would be fun, like standing on the stage somewhere, like singing quietly at the back, so no one could see me in my like Portuguese that doesn't exist. And I thought, yeah, okay, fine, that's fine. And this is me pretending I understand what they're saying. The moment that it dawned on me that I would have to be actually in a show, that they were assigning us roles and that I would have to act. And so then 3 months of long rehearsals, 8 or 9 hours, several times a week, and being told that we're going to be performing across the country, in Lisbon, in Setúbal, in Porto, in Guimarães, and I honestly really had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I was really terrified. This is completely new for me. So through this experience, here's what I learned about my fear. The first thing that was obvious was how scary and uncomfortable it felt to say yes to an experience like this when I'm a shy person, believe it or not. And I've never actually acted before. The moment I saw the first venue, which was at the main auditorium at Centro Cultural de Belém, and also is massive, by the way, and has a capacity of like 1,400 people, I felt only fear and pretty much nothing else. An imposter syndrome, like what am I doing here? How have I ended up here? And deciding to do this and to commit to it fully, it was a really challenging decision for me. I've quite a bit of unhealed trauma, embarrassment, shame about one time I tried to audition for a school play when I was in secondary school, when I was like 12 years old, and it just went horribly because I completely shut down and I wasn't even able to get any words out. And after that, I never really tried again. And I even stopped singing for a long time, even though I really love it. And the idea of acting and singing and being on stage has always really appealed to me. I just felt way too shy and I really had a problem with embarrassment. You know, like at school in drama lessons, you would have to do improv and like weird, strange movements and like these activities. Honestly, it was my literal worst nightmare. I would actually often like skip or abscond from drama lessons if I could. The absolute height of this nightmare coming true in this situation in rehearsals for the show Augustinopolis, which is what the show's name is, near the start of our first performance, we had to stand in a large 60-person circle, and one at a time we had to go into the centre of the circle and act out the presentation of someone with Tourette syndrome in Portuguese. And I remember standing there, but I was about halfway in the circle, in the order. And I was praying that something would happen to prevent it from getting to me. Like maybe there'd be a terrible disaster, maybe we'd lose power, maybe something bad would happen to me and I would just fall on the floor and that's it. And I could like feel the eyes burning on me when it was my turn and nothing happened and I had to do it, and my brain just malfunctioned. Like I couldn't remember any Portuguese words, and it was actually the best thing and worst thing I've ever done. Best because I learned that I could do it and the world wouldn't end. I could withstand that level of discomfort and embarrassment, which is something that I never really got over as a young person. So I didn't think I was capable of doing something like this, and old me definitely would not have been able to do it. But I really realized that my work over the last few years on building my confidence, managing feelings of embarrassment, especially in situations where I have to be fully seen or I'm the focus of someone else's attention, has really worked. And now it felt like the perfect timing, like moving to a new country, reimagining my identity to kind of go and see if that inner work actually could be applied to a demanding context of singing and acting in another language on a stage. And guys, I think I did it. I had all sorts of feelings about going on a stage this size, a combination of nerves, excitement, but I really realized throughout the process that I loved so much of it. I loved walking through the building before a show was about to start. I loved getting into character, putting on my costume and my wig, although by the end of the show I wish I never had to wear it again because it was so boiling hot under there. I loved the contrast between the cold, quiet corridors and entering onto, a dark lit backstage and seeing everyone getting ready to perform. I loved hearing the auditorium fill up from behind the scenes before the show began, and we'd all have to be so quiet and you could kind of hear the chattering and the chairs. I loved the small interactions between the cast members before the show, and in Portuguese, before they begin the show, they say merde or muito merde. Like in English, we say break a leg. And I don't know if this is true, but one of the cast members told me, I haven't fact checked it, but someone said that the reason they say merde or shit, which is what it translates to, is because in the olden days, people would arrive by horse and carriage, and the more horse poo there was, the fuller the theatre, which was a good sign. Anyway, I thought that was really cool. So everyone would be going around quietly whispering merde, muito merde, hugging and kissing, and these moments of tenderness amongst the adrenaline of going out onto the stage was so beautiful. It was one of my favourite parts of performing. And then there was the actual show. From the first show, I was really mesmerized, watching the amazing actors do their thing, the opera singers creating this amazing story, and all of the smaller characters like me creating this whole other crazy abstract world. Wow, it was amazing. And after, I would be completely full and completely exhausted at the same time, and I'll really never forget these moments. I know I'm kind of making it sound like paradise, but I really wanted to share in this video a few things that were a little bit more challenging for me, especially the social side of this experience. So rehearsals were extremely long, sometimes several times a week, and the main barrier was obviously the reality of the language being different and specific moments, mostly the entire time, where I couldn't understand directions or misunderstanding directions or kind of being highlighted for doing something wrong because I didn't understand. That was really hard. And I remember sitting there in the first rehearsal and I literally could not understand one single word. And I remember thinking, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? But it didn't take very long to kind of start understanding key instructions. They'd be like, vai, like go, or a frente, like in front. And I was amazed how much you can pick up on just based on the context and kind of watching very closely what people are doing. And I realized that this level of immersion is basically the best thing you can do to learn a language. And I'm really grateful that I ended up in that situation, because it took me from zero understanding of the language to like knowing a little bit, or at least understanding a little bit in a really short time. The most difficult part for me was the moments in between the performing. The socializing times. These were the most completely painful times for me. You know those movies where there's a teenager and the teenager starts at a new high school and they're like completely alone and they're bullied and nobody likes them. It was kind of like that, but I didn't understand anything or speak the language, so I literally could not even try to join in conversations, and it felt like a really impossible situation. I think joining something already very integrated and being the only new person is really hard anyway. I have been the new kid on the block before, but I forgot how hard it was, and I naively assumed that it would be different with an adult population, but I was wrong. Okay, so I am walking back right now from the theatre, which is kind of behind me, and we just did our first day of performing here in Porto, which was amazing. The theatre is so cool, and we had like little snacks and drinks afterwards. It was very sophisticated and the performance went really well. I feel like I'm enjoying it every time more than the last time, which is kind of crazy. Thought I might be bored of it by now, but no, here I am, still loving it. So yeah, it's going super well. I've actually been reflecting on loads of things that it brings up for me to be performing like in the theatre, and I haven't really done that before, but also in another language where I can't really socialize with people. Oh my god, a lime scooter just went off. Yeah, like been thinking about this feeling of a rejection or being left out, because it's kind of the name of the game when you do something in a totally different language and everybody's speaking that language. And I'm really talkative and I love getting to know people, and it's been really challenging to kind of realize that I can't do that in the same way. Like I have to expect them to speak English or try to communicate in my very limited at the moment Portuguese. And yeah, it's just been a really interesting experience to like feel the sorts of feelings that I used to have in childhood, and then kind of cope with them, or like use like strategies that I've learned, maybe like coping in a different way, in a way that is more healed. And it feels really like a privilege to be able to do that as an adult. So yeah, reflections on my night. For at least the first few weeks of rehearsals, most people didn't even try to chat with me, and I spent a lot of my time on my own. And this was a really good learning for me, because it was actually a moment of realization where I thought, oh, like I'm actually able to withstand this now. Like I don't feel as strongly that I need to be liked or I need to fit in, and I felt a lot happier in my own company, which was kind of nice to realize. That I don't need that validation from other people liking me to enjoy and learn from an experience. But of course, it is not easy to sit with the discomfort and rejection that you feel. And understandably, this was made worse by the fact that I didn't speak the language. And I understand that. I was trying to learn as quickly as I could, but you know, the fact was that I was the only person who did not speak Portuguese in the entire 60-person performance. I'm gonna feel on the outside. The peak of this discomfort came when the organisers of the show were planning the hotel rooms for our trip to Porto, and no one wanted to share a room with me. And man, I did not feel good. Like everyone already had their own friends and I felt rejection, and I really had to talk myself into this kind of safe, calm state to carry on with the show and be like, it's fine, I can do it, and basically not lose my self-esteem or confidence. And I was really close to leaving at this point. Like I really was not sure if I could do it, if I could feel lonely and isolated. But instead, I decided to book an Airbnb in Porto and plan loads of fun activities for me to do in the mornings before rehearsals and performances, and I made a whole trip of it and I completely loved it. Porto is amazing, by the way. In hindsight, it was really nice to have a space on my own and time away, because often I would feel really emotionally and mentally drained from trying to listen to the language and also understand when I need to go on the stage and perform. So I ended up putting on my tourist hat and having a whole trip of Porto. I explored the city. It's really beautiful. It's got such a cool landscape and a cool vibe and bridges, and I really love bridges, so that's amazing.
Okay, so I am in Porto right now, ready for the third performance of Augustinopolis, and I'm really excited to be performing in the theatre. But I'm also having a little bit of a tourist explore of Porto right now. I'm right by the water. It's very cool. I feel like I haven't been in tourist mode for a while because where I moved in Portugal, Setúbal, I already know very well. So it's cool to be somewhere new.
So I went to a tile painting workshop and I made some cute little tiles, which I now have in my home, and I love them. And of course, I indulged in the most delicious francesinha of my life. And honestly, I can't believe I didn't know about this before. It was perfect, and it was so nice to eat on this day because it was wet and it was raining, and this little cafe was cozy and warm, and it's really like a delicious, nourishing, I don't know, like kind of bad for you experience, but I loved it. And then after spending the day exploring, I'd head back to the theatre ready for rehearsals and the show. And in these moments, I realised, probably for the first time in a long time, that even though there were negatives to the experience, the anxiety, isolation, rejection, literal difficulty of the language, I still wanted to do it. I still wanted to put myself in the discomfort, to learn, to have the experience. And by the time we actually got to Porto, after a few weeks, loads of people had started to accept me as part of the group, and they'd started talking to me and asking questions and sometimes including me in conversations. And I started to feel a little bit more like I belonged. There was one girl in particular who was super open and loving, and she always went out of her way to translate for me and welcome me and make me feel included. And she was only 18. And I thought, wow, like she's such a pure soul, and I'm super grateful to her. So slowly, as we were performing, I also started to feel more confident and comfortable on the stage rather than terrified or embarrassed. And that's probably also because I started to feel like I fit in a bit more. And I discovered parts of me that love to act, love to create and live as a character. I'm already fascinated with the human psyche and human behavior, which is why I'm a psychologist. So seeing the link between understanding and the details of human behavior, like the movements, the sounds, the facial expressions, being able to embody and portray this and watch the amazing actors do this behind the scenes was so fun. And somehow the fact that it was in Portuguese, this whole experience really removed any expectations for me. It made me feel free. It made me feel like I could just be who I was, and everybody as part of the theatre production was just so genuine, kind of weird, but in the best way, and it allowed me to embrace that part of myself too, and I'm really grateful for that as well. So to summarize what this whirlwind experience has taught me, number one, discomfort is where growth lives. I have been parts of so many different kind of spiritual communities in the past where healing or enlightenment are seen as like Zen and the ability to always stay regulated. Any circles I was in, it always felt like the goal was to kind of skirt around or avoid discomfort or get to a place where you don't feel discomfort or to reach a state of complete regulation and kind of stay there. And to me, this experience reminded me what the point is. And it's to be alive, it's to feel everything, it's to feel the good, it's to feel the terrible, it's to be uncomfortable and to learn through these feelings, through these emotions, to grow and evolve as a consequence of experiences, not by reducing or limiting the experiences that we're exposed to. The second thing that I learned is that vulnerability creates connection. And I kind of knew this logically already, but this experience was just such an amazing kind of actual application of this knowledge. So starting off struggling, being the outsider, feeling isolated, and then staying with that and eventually having doors open for you to be welcomed in, to be accepted. And this was a really cool experience of like I don't know, an adult human existence. Now I've developed these skills that I need to regulate through this sort of experience. It really showed me that I've developed strength there. The third thing I learned is that language is only part of communication. And so even though I couldn't speak the language, I was able to connect with people, you know, through having a positive presence, body language, facial expressions, intention, being intentionally present with others. That was really helpful. And number 4, your 30s are for sure the time to try new things, I promise you. What I realized is that I've developed so many strategies for regulating myself, for feeling calm, for knowing myself better. And it's a cliche, I know, but if you are in your 30s, you do tend to know yourself better. You feel at peace with yourself. And so when you go into a new experience, you can withstand the challenges that come with it better because you already feel sure in yourself. So overall, this whole experience, my Portuguese has been improved. I've road tested some super difficult inner work, challenges of embarrassment and shyness, and I've created new relationships, learnt new skills like acting and singing on a stage. And just generally, it's allowed me to be a bit integrated into Portuguese life and culture, and I really, really appreciated that. I'm probably not carrying on with the theatre for now, and I'm wanting to take some time off and time for myself over the winter, and who knows, in its place maybe something even more crazy and exciting will happen next year. And I would love to hear your stories. What is something that you've said yes to, something that really scared you or challenged you in the beginning? What did you learn? Thank you so much for watching, and I'm sending you so much love.